What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. In today's video we are checking out the iQOO Neo 6. Now for those of you that haven't heard of this brand before, this is basically a sub-brand of Vivo. So kind of like the Redmi line from Xiaomi. So this is that line that offers really good value for your money. So the Neo 6 right here is half the price of an iPhone 13, well less than half the price of an iPhone 13, and for that money you get a Snapdragon 870 that's paired with 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of internal storage. So just so you get an idea of this brand's value basically. Now I've also done a camera comparison between this phone and my iPhone 13, and if you're here and just want to see the camera comparison, that one starts at this minute of this video, so you can skip right to that camera comparison. Alright, so just before we go any further, let's do a bit of an unboxing just so you can get an idea of what comes in the box with this phone. Alright, so in the box you're gonna find a silicone case for the device. That's definitely a nice addition, this so you don't have to spend extra money for a case. You're gonna find the user manual. We also have a USB-C charging cable and the 80-watt fast charger. So inside the Neo 6 we have a 4700 mAh battery, and if you're using that charger that comes in the box, you can charge this phone from 0 to 100 in about 40 minutes. And on one charge, depending how you're using the phone of course, you can get up to 13 hours of screen on time. Now for that particular test I was using the phone on Wi-Fi only, and I basically played videos non-stop with the screen at the maximum brightness. Of course, if you're actually using the phone with a SIM card inside and you're using it like day-to-day usage, you're only gonna get about 7 to 8 hours of screen on time. Moving on to the device itself, well, this phone has a somewhat unique look, I'm gonna say, mostly because of that square camera system that we have on the back and the fact that the back changes colors depending how you look at it. Now, your first clue that you're looking at a budget-friendly device would be the fact that the back and the phone's frame are made out of plastic. So you're not gonna get that premium feel that you typically get with phones that have a metallic frame and maybe glass on the back. So yes, the phone does feel a bit on the cheaper side, I'm gonna say. So on the right hand side of the frame here we have the power button and the volume keys. At the top we have the holes for a microphone. At the bottom we have the SIM card slot, so this device can take two SIM cards at the same time. We have the USB-C charging port and the second speaker. So this device has one speaker at the bottom and one at the top here, and the speakers do sound quite decent, and this is a quick sample just so you can hear how those speakers sound like. On the front of the device we have a 6.62 inches AMOLED screen with a refresh rate of 120 Hz and also a peak brightness of 1300 nits. So you can definitely see this phone outdoors in direct sunlight, something that doesn't really happen with a lot of budget-friendly devices. So a really good screen on this particular device. We also have an in-screen fingerprint scanner, something that I wasn't actually expecting, and the in-screen fingerprint scanner works really good. It only takes like half a second from the time you touch the screen with your finger for the phone to unlock. So it works surprisingly well with that in-screen fingerprint scanner. Alright, so for those of you that like benchmark scores, this device gets an AnTuTu benchmark score of about 730,000. So a pretty high score for a budget-friendly device, and pretty much all the applications that I've tried on it work extremely well. The phone does feel quite fast. So no matter what app you're gonna be using, no matter what game you're gonna be playing, the phone will perform really well. And it doesn't get that hot, because with a lot of flagship devices that we got this year, well, those get quite hot. This one doesn't actually get that hot whenever I'm playing games. Now, this device, it's using Android 12, but on top of that Android 12, we have a skin or a launcher called FunTouch OS. And I have to say I'm not a big fan of the FunTouch OS. First of all, the phone comes pre-installed with a bunch of apps that you're gonna have to uninstall because they're useless. And then it keeps sending you notifications from different apps. The one that sends the most notifications, even though I never actually opened the app, is the browser app. I'm sure that if I would look more into it, I could actually disable those notifications and maybe even uninstall that browser app, even though it's not that easy to do. So FunTouch OS is definitely not my favorite thing about this phone. I wish it would have had a launcher that was a bit simpler and with less notifications that were being sent constantly. The phone supports 5G connectivity as well, if your carrier supports 5G, of course. We also have a pretty decent GPS unit inside. It only takes like a couple of seconds to find your location. But unfortunately, there is no NFC chip inside this device, so you're not going to be able to use the device to make payments using Google Pay, for example. We have a variety of sensors, and you can also watch Netflix in HD. So overall, this is a pretty fast phone. It has a lot of decent specs, so a lot of power, and I just wish the launcher would have been a bit different. I'm sure that if you work on it a bit, you can make it better. But aside from that Fun Touch OS launcher, everything is pretty decent about this phone. And with that being said, I think we're gonna move on and start that camera comparison that I mentioned earlier. So on the back of the device here, we have three cameras. We have the main camera that also has optical image stabilization. Then we have an ultra-wide camera and a macro camera. And on the front of the device, we have a 16 megapixel camera. And with that being said, let's begin by checking out some portrait mode pictures that I took with this device and my iPhone 13. Alright, so after looking at those portrait mode pictures, it almost looks like the Neo 6 has the better edge detection, well, compared to that iPhone 13, of course, and around the subject. Mostly if you look at Laura's hair in some of those pictures, the edge detection from the Neo 6 seems to be better. Now, for color accuracy, I feel that the iPhone 13 has the more natural looking colors, so colors that I was seeing with my own eyes. But the Neo 6 does have the more Instagram ready pictures, and I showed Laura those portrait mode pictures and she prefers every single picture taken by the Neo 6. So of course this comes down to your personal preference and what you prefer for those portrait mode pictures. Moving on to some 5x zoom pictures, keep in mind that neither device has a telephoto lens, so everything that you're seeing is basically digital zoom. Well, I can't really say that the iPhone does better or the Neo 6 does better. They kind of do equally bad, I'm gonna say. So I feel that the Neo 6 is using a bit more contrast in those pictures, but overall none of them takes amazing zoom pictures basically. Moving on to some pictures that I took with the ultra-wide camera as well. First of all, you're gonna notice that the iPhone has the wider field of view, so you can see a bit more in those pictures taken by the iPhone 13. And therefore colors, I kind of prefer the colors from the iPhone 13. The Neo 6 does seem to oversaturate those colors a bit, and maybe there is a bit of a reddish hue in those pictures as well. So for the ultra-wide cameras, I do prefer the iPhone 13, but definitely leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts. Which ones do you prefer for those zoom pictures, the ultra-wide pictures, and the portrait mode pictures? And of course, I also have some pictures that I took with the main cameras. On the back of the two devices, all the pictures were taken about a second apart from each other and on auto mode on both devices. So the same kind of applies as we've had for the ultra-wide cameras. So the Neo 6 does have the more saturated looking colors, even though in some of those pictures the Neo 6 does seem to do better. The pictures look a bit brighter, they have a bit more color, even dynamic range seems to be better in some situations. So for some of those pictures, yes, the Neo 6 does good, and once again I feel that it comes down to your personal preference if you prefer those more saturated colors or those more natural looking colors that we get from the iPhone 13. So I'll let you guys watch a few more pictures that I took during the day and I will be right back. Next, we're gonna move on and check out some pictures that I took at night with both devices. Both devices support a night mode for the main cameras and for the ultra-wide cameras, and all the pictures that you are seeing on your screen right now, of course, are taken using that night mode available on both devices. And the first pictures that we are seeing are pictures that I took with the main cameras. So for the main camera and the night mode, I have to say that I was quite surprised by the quality of the pictures that we got from the Neo 6. Many of them are actually better than the pictures that I took with the iPhone 13. I was definitely not expecting that. So a lot of those pictures are brighter from the Neo 6, they're also a bit sharper. So overall, I feel that for nighttime pictures, under the right conditions, of course, the Neo 6 does a bit better than the iPhone 13. So what do you guys think? Check out those pictures and definitely leave a comment and let me know your thoughts. Which one do you prefer for the main camera and the night mode? As for the ultra-wide cameras and the night mode, well, here it seems that we get the opposite. So the iPhone 13 does seem to have the sharper pictures taken with that ultra-wide camera. But overall, neither device does that amazing with the ultra-wide cameras and of course that night mode. And once again, leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts. Alright, so next we're gonna move on and check out some sample video recordings that I've done during the day and of course at night with both devices. So both devices can do 4K at 60 frames per second, however, at that resolution only the iPhone 13 has image stabilization. The Neo 6 only has image stabilization if you're recording in 4K at 30 frames per second. And I've also noticed that I cannot use the ultra-wide camera on this one to record videos. So you can only use the main camera to record videos. So I'll let you guys watch those sample recordings and I'll come back so we can talk about them after. Okay, we have a quick recording between the iPhone 13 and the Neo 6. For this recording, I'm using the main cameras on the back of the two devices and recording in 4K at 30 frames per second. Both devices can also do 4K at 60 frames per second. However, if you're recording at that resolution, the Neo 6 doesn't get stabilization. So we are better off to do 4K at 30 frames per second. I've also noticed that you cannot record videos with the ultra-wide camera on the back of the Neo 6. So your main camera is basically the only option when it comes to video recordings. Now, I'm happy to have the main camera that films good than have an ultra-wide camera that doesn't actually film good. So I'm okay filming just with the main camera. So yeah, 4K at 30 frames per second between the iPhone 13 and the Neo 6 on a super sunny day, but also a bit windy. So you may have heard a bit of wind aside from my voice. Alright, we have a quick recording between the Neo 6 and the iPhone 13 in low light. For this recording, I'm using the main cameras on the back of the two devices and recording in 4K at 30 frames per second. As I mentioned earlier, both devices could do 4K at 60, but at that resolution with the Neo 6 we don't get image stabilization. So 4K at 30 is gonna have to do. We do have some street lights around here, so it's not totally dark, but at least you'll get an idea of how the footage looks under these conditions. If we stop here and we pan left, you can see the castle there. So yeah, 4K at 30 frames per second with the main cameras between these two devices. Alright, we have a quick video test to the front-facing cameras on the iPhone 13 and of course on the Neo 6. So if you are using the front-facing camera on the Neo 6, the maximum recording resolution is 1080p at 30 frames per second. Of course with the iPhone 13 we can do 4K at 60 frames per second. So a bit of a difference for that resolution for the front-facing camera. As you can see, I am walking fairly normal and I'm also trying to keep the phones as steady as possible. And we have a super sunny day. We'll turn around this way. So now the sun is right in front of me, so behind the cameras basically. So yeah, front-facing cameras on the Neo 6 and the iPhone 13. Now, of course, for video recordings, I kind of knew that the iPhone 13 would do better. The iPhone seems to be the best for video recordings, but I was pleasantly surprised by the video quality that we got from the Neo 6, mostly taking in consideration the price of this device, because this phone is less than half of an iPhone 13. Moving on to some selfies, well, here for selfies it seems that the iPhone 13 does better for daytime selfies and nighttime selfies. Once again, I was kind of expecting that a lot of budget-friendly devices don't get the best selfie cameras, I'm gonna say. So there you have it, this is the iQOO Neo 6. What do you guys think about this device? Is it worth its price? Is it good enough? Should have been better? Definitely leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one.